6 months after Hurricane Harvey, the state's General Land Office is only now starting to hire workers who can help with disaster recovery programs, with thousands of Texans waiting in line for assistance. And the San Antonio Express-News investigates why less than 2% of qualified Harvey victims are being helped. Authorities say drug use may have been a factor for a Seguin doctor who murdered 2 neighbors and claims he faced threats after infiltrating an international conspiracy. And following exclusive access for more than a year, a San Antonio Express news reporter and photographer have created a 5-part series that follows a group of 38 cadets through their training at the San Antonio Police Training Academy. Good morning. Those are your headlines from ExpressNews.com. I'm Chance Dorland with your Express News briefing for Monday, March 12th. Brought to you by North Park Mazda, the #1 Mazda dealer in Texas last month. Tasked with helping displaced Texans find safe places to live after one of the nation's worst floods, last summer the Federal Emergency Management Agency decided to experiment. Rather than engaging its program for short-term housing, FEMA called on Texas to find trailers, lease apartments, and repair flood victims' homes. But local, state, and federal records and interviews show those efforts, led by Texas Land Commissioner George P. Bush, have been tied up in a web of paperwork, legal wrangling, and efforts to increase staffing. It took FEMA nearly a month to ask for help and to work out an agreement with Bush's office, which initially said it needed 90 disaster recovery workers. But another 5 months later, the State General Land Office has only added 33, with thousands of Texans still waiting for help with temporary housing, as Texas now expects to spend just $1.1 billion out of the more than $2.6 billion Land Office officials say FEMA budgeted for short-term housing programs. But state officials say the larger number was an early estimate based on maximum potential signups, and Texans can't be forced to use the program if they don't sign up. Hurricane Harvey's 6-month anniversary passed with fewer than 8,000 Texas families having made it into trailers, apartments, or homes leased or repaired by FEMA-funded programs, figures that equate to roughly 2% of the 371,000 applicants who have qualified for federal assistance. By comparison, roughly 6 months after a rainstorm inundated southern Louisiana in 2016, about 18% of approved FEMA applicants had moved into similar federally funded temporary housing. While FEMA officials have cautioned against comparing disasters and emphasized that the agency's short-term housing programs are designed to serve only people without other options, interviews with state and local officials indicate that negotiating FEMA's intricate partnership with Texas General Land Office and local governments delayed the rollout of Harvey housing programs by weeks, and in some cases by months, with some qualified Harvey victims saying they've given up on receiving help from the government. Emergency responders say minutes after a Seguin doctor shot 2 neighbors on February 25th, 56-year-old Robert E. Fadal II emerged from his home and admitted to killing 2 innocent people. Landscape company owners Anthony and Tiffany Strait were apparently shot without warning while accompanied by their 3 sons, ages 7, 9, and 10, after arriving from their nearby residence to help Fadal's mother move some belongings. The doctor later told investigators he shot them because he feared they were Russian mobsters intent on killing his mother. 30-year-old Tiffany Strait died at a local hospital, while 27-year-old Anthony Strait was pronounced dead inside the gated Fadal family compound at the end of Timber Elm Road. Authorities suspect a factor in the crime may be drug use, as Fadal reportedly appeared paranoid when questioned and spoke of receiving internet threats for having cracked a worldwide financial conspiracy, with authorities initially suspecting he was under the influence of methamphetamine or prescription drugs. While a warrant was used to test a sample of Fadal's blood, results of that test have not been made available. But the suspect's answers regarding the deadly shooting have been met with skepticism and scorn by the Straits family, with one family member claiming Fadal is making up the story, and another noting that as the couple had made numerous past social visits to the compound, Fadal should have recognized both them and their vehicle. Robert E. Fadal II remains jailed in lieu of $5 million bail on a charge of capital murder of multiple persons. While many of the 38 San Antonio police cadets who made up Group 2017 Alpha grew up in San Antonio, several moved to the area from Tennessee, New York, Wisconsin, and Puerto Rico, specifically because they believe the San Antonio Police Department is one of the best in the nation. Express News criminal justice enterprise reporter Emily Eaton followed their progress through exclusive access for more than a year, with her 5-part series now available in print and online, and also discussed in the latest episode of the In-Depth podcast.
I was very surprised how comprehensive it was. There were sort of some challenges in reporting the story. We had to be very careful about how we described the tactics that they used, because as you can imagine, a suspect could find out, how they enter a room with their guns drawn and use that against them. So the instructors were pulling us aside a lot and saying, okay, when you describe this, make sure you don't mention this specific tactic because that would put us in danger.
Find more details of Emily Eaton's year-long embed with San Antonio Police Department cadets at expressnews.com and our 35-minute conversation on last week's episode of the In-Depth podcast, available for free download at expressnews.com/podcasts. And with the Spurs' 9th loss in the past 12 games, the team is in a free fall that has put them in jeopardy of missing the postseason for the first time since the 1996-97 season. The 37-29 Spurs left Oklahoma City on Saturday, having dropped to 7th in the Western Conference. And if they lose to Houston on Monday, they're likely to return the following day to San Antonio out of the playoff picture altogether. And that's your Express Briefing for Monday, March 12th from expressnews.com. Brought to you this morning by North Park Mazda, the #1 Mazda dealer in Texas last month. I'm Chance Dorland.